What if Sentai only mecha were adapted into Power Rangers? What would they be called? That is going to be the premise of today's video. So why not give some Sentai only mechas some Western names? Now we're not going to go over every Sentai mecha, dear god no, because if we did we'd be here for hours, and I feel like I don't have the creativity to list off every Sentai only mech and give them a Power Rangers related name. So if I miss your favorite Sentai only mech, or I don't cover a Sentai mech that never got adapted into Power Rangers and I don't give it a name, feel free to leave a comment down below telling me what you would call that Sentai mech if it was adapted into Power Rangers. Now without any further ado, let's turn some stag beetles into some praying mantises. Speaking of bugs, let's start with the most recent mech, King Ohger. Now the theme for King Ohger was bugs and royalty, so I get the feeling if King Ohger was adapted in the Power Rangers, they'd call this thing the Insect King Megazord. Now Jeremy's mecha, I feel like they'd call that Tarantula Knight because the name's in English and the name pretty much says it all and describes itself, so I feel like Jeremy's mech would remain unchanged. Now that we've talked about the new, let's talk about the old, the OG Megazord in Sentai history, Battle Fever Robo. Now this was the very first giant robo in Sentai history, and I feel like if Power Rangers did adapt it, they would call it the Battle Fighter Robot or the Battle Fighter Megazord. Why? Because it's got a big BF on its chest, and it's hard to miss. Just like how Beast Morphers used the GB for Go Busters and called it Grid Battle Force, so I feel like it'd be kind of a similar situation they're doing there. Now Power Rangers Super Mega Force, love it or hate it, one thing it did do that left a lot of head scratching was adapt several unused Sentai suits that were from the pre-Zyuranger era, aka the pre-Mighty Morphin era from Sentai's before its time, and they were given weird names upon their release. Now, some of these suits have made their ways into the comics, and they've sort of been gotten some extra lore through the Boom Studios comics, but what would we call each of these Megazords if they were adapted into the Power Rangers franchise? What names would we give them? So Dynaman was called the Battalion Rangers, and the Dyna Robo is probably one of the best looking Sentai classic mechs out there, so I'd probably call this one the Battle Megazord. Bioman was originally meant to be the Sentai that Saban planned on adapting and bringing to the States, but unfortunately the pilot never took off, and looking at that mech, I feel like they would have called it the Bio Megazord. Changeman was called Blitz Rangers in Super Mega Force, so I get the feeling they'd call it the Blitz Megazord. Maskman, that was another series but was also in Super Mega Force, and they were called the Lightning Rangers. So I get the feeling that if they did bring over that Megazord to the States, they'd probably call it the Lightning Megazord. Not the most original name, but hey, we've got two Thunder Megazords in the franchise. Now, Flashman was another series that appeared in Super Mega Force where they called them the Prism Rangers, and we also did see the Prism Rangers in the comics, but they were quickly laid out by Astromina. Now, the Flashman mecha was called Flash King, so I feel like if they did adapt the Flashman mecha, and the whole theme of Flashman was that they were aliens from space, if I remember correctly. I haven't seen the series, I've mostly read up on the bio, but I feel like a well-suited name for the Flash King mech is the Cosmo Megazord. Fiveman. Now Fiveman was once again another Sentai we saw in Super Mega Force, and they called them the Supersonic Rangers, and later on in the Boom Studio comics they did expand on some lore with these Rangers as they got a little bit of a flashback that dove into the backstory of Psycho Green. Now with Fiveman they have the Super 5 Robo and the Max Magma, which is their base that also turns into the mech that combines with their main mech, so I feel like calling it the Supersonic Megazord, and when they combine with the Max Magma they would call it the Max Supersonic Megazord. Now recently I've been watching ToQger, it's a really fun Sentai, I highly recommend it, and that big train Megazord with the big train dong, I feel like they would probably call that Megazord the Super Train Megazord or the Bullet Train Megazord, or maybe even the Express Megazord. There's so many train puns you could use for that Megazord in ToQger. Zyurager's mecha, I feel like it would get called the Jungle Beast Megazord or the Animal Kingdom Megazord, or even the Beast Megazord they could call it. Alright, Lupat. Now, Lupat is one of those highly requested Sentais that people want to see get adapted. I feel like this Sentai and Kyuranger was pretty high up there with Sentais that people wanted to see adapted in the Power Rangers. And I haven't seen Lupat yet, I've heard nothing but good things about it, and nothing but mixed things about it. But Lupat had 2 sets of Megazords, and I feel like for the Lupin Rangers, they could call it the Phantom Thief Megazord or the Phantom Megazord, and for the Pato Rangers, I feel like they could call it the Patrol Megazord, or even the Justice Megazord. Alright, let's round things off with the very latest Sentai as of the time of recording this video, Boon Boomja. Now, seeing how they summon the Boon Boomja Robo, I feel like with how they drive on Rainbow Road to summon it, I feel like the best name for this Zord would probably be called the Highway Megazord. There's probably a bunch of other car puns we could use for this Megazord, call it the Turbo Megazord 2.0 or something, but I feel like the Highway Megazord has a nice ring to it. What do you guys think? So those are some Sentai only mechs I would call if they were adapted into Power Rangers. What would have you called these Sentai only mechs if they got adapted? If I didn't list your favourite, tell me in the comment section down below with what you would have called them, and I'll see you guys in the next video. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share the video around on social media, and leave a like. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, take care, bye.